Hello everyone, welcome to a new lecture in our lecture series. So today's topic is, as you can see from the slide, APA style. Now we have discussed about the various characteristics, various general steps that are included in writing a research paper, and how we can go about, what are the different styles through which we can research, and what are the different styles which are common in research in language and research in English literature. Now when people write research papers and their thesis, we have already studied about research. The definition of research is that it is a systematic procedural process where everything is logical and fixed, okay, and you have to follow certain rules, certain systems to go about your process. Now APA style is one of the referencing style. एक तरीके से referencing style होता है जिससे कि हम we format our research, all right. मतलब जो एंड में रिपोर्ट राइटिंग का जो हमारा स्टेप होता है, द स्टेप ऑफ रिपोर्ट राइटिंग, देयर वी हैव टू प्रेजेंट आवर रिपोर्ट, वी हैव टू प्रेजेंट आवर thesis की whatever research we have done, we have to present it in a very systematic and a very a kind of a manner which is legible to the person, and they're easy able to understand it easily, right? So APA style is basically एक standard formatting style है. It's a standard citation style कि आप अपने research paper की formatting कैसे करेंगे, font style कैसा रहेगा, size क्या रहेगा fonts का, अलग अलग तरह से, किस तरह से हम अलग अलग parts को, जैसे bibliography है, हमारा introduction है, क्या है, तो उनको कैसे कैसे हम format करेंगे. तो एक standard style is there, one standard style is there, so that people are able to manage this standard style, and therefore एक uniformity maintain हो सकती है in the research arena. All right, so APA style, basically APA stands for American Psychological Association. उनकी जो जर्नल है, उनका जो मैनुअल था, उसी के अंदर एक 7 pages का publication guidelines के नाम से they published various guidelines for publication of academic writings, all right, in 1920s. Then onwards जितने भी humanities background में research conduct होते हैं, whatever researches are being conducted in the humanities background, they are formatted using the APA style. Also slowly and gradually this APA style it moved, and even researchers in scientific subjects also started using this referencing style. All right, so let's begin about APA style, how we can use it. For example, if you are writing a research paper, how you can format your research paper using APA style, and in your thesis how you can use it, so on and so forth. Let's begin. First of all, we need to understand that there are various sections of any research, because obviously we have already studied that it is divided systematically, okay, systematically divided होता है, and accordingly हर step पे आपको उसी तरह से you are given certain headlines. So there are several sections of an APA style paper. They are title page, abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, references, appendix, tables, figure captions, and okay. So basically APA, it doesn't matter that your research paper should have all of these parts. It depends from topic to topic, it depends from theme to theme, that what kind of sections you are going to use in your पेपर, ठीक है. तो टाइटल पेज होगा हमारा, यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड बाय द नेम. नाउ हम इन सारे सेक्शंस को वी विल डिस्कस इट इन डिटेल कि कैसे, व्हाट APA स्टाइल सेज अबाउट ऑल दीज सेक्शंस ऑफ अ रिसर्च पेपर, व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट गाइडलाइंस दैट आर गिवन बाय APA to be followed while writing down or while reporting these various sections. Okay, 11 steps of writing a research paper, conducting a research. Select a topic, narrow the topic, search for sources, read and take notes. Now we have already discussed all of these in detail, right? Selecting a topic, then narrowing it is very important. We have already discussed it in much detail in our previous lectures. Search for sources from where you can which are going to be your primary source for research, which are going to be your secondary sources. You have to search for those sources. Then read and take notes. You are supposed to take notes of whatever literature review you are doing. देन क्रिएट एन आउटलाइन कि आपका ये मार्जिन है, इसके अंदर यू आर गोइंग टू कंडक्ट योर रिसर्च. देन यू आर गोइंग टू राइट अ रफ ड्राफ्ट कि आपको लगता है कि ये वाला पार्ट पहले आना चाहिए, ये बाद में आना चाहिए, वॉट एवर इट इज़, वन रफ ड्राफ्ट शुड बी प्रिपेयर्ड. देन इन टेक्स्ट साइटेशंस क्या होते हैं कि टेक्स्ट के अंदर हम कहीं से अगर रेफरेंसिंग लेते हैं, कहीं से हम किसी और का थर्ड पार्टी का कोई मटीरियल वी आर इंक्लूडिंग इन आर टेक्स्ट, तो वी हैव टू साइट देम, अदरवाइज we could be charged with plagiarism. All right, so in text citation, then reference pages, we have to give references, revise and rewrite. After that you need to revise, proofread and write and proofread the final draft. So and in the end you write and proofread. In this step actually this APA style of formatting and everything takes place. Okay, now the title of a research paper creates the first impression of a paper. एक टाइटल कितना इम्पॉर्टेंट होता है वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड इट वेरी वेल. जो टाइटल होता है किसी भी चीज़ का, वो एक्चुअली डिसाइड करता है कि हाउ मच पीपल विल टेक इंटरेस्ट इन इट. ऑल राइट, मतलब आपने हो सकता है बहुत अमेजिंग कोई रिसर्च पेपर लिखा है, यू हैव डन एक्सटेंसिव रिसर्च ऑन सर्टेन टॉपिक, मगर अगर आपका टाइटल बोरिंग है, आपका टाइटल आपकी सारी जो रिसर्च के आइडियोलॉजीज़ हैं उनको एक तरह से रिप्रेजेंट नहीं कर रहा है, तो हो सकता है कई बार जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द टाइटल कोई आपकी रिसर्च में इंटरेस्ट ना ले. राइट, बिकॉज टाइटल इज़ समथिंग जो एक तरह से इंट्रोडक्शन भी होता है, बिल्कुल ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन भी होता है आपके रिसर्च पेपर का. सो द टाइटल ऑफ अ research paper creates the first impression of a paper. Then people may decide to read or not read a paper simply by the title. Simply because of the title they might even want to read because the title is so interesting. They might not want to read because they title se unko koi they didn't get any kind of curiosity. Then if you send your manuscript to a journal, your title may determine to whom the journal editor assigns it for review. The same thing even when you sending it in a journal, wahan pe bhi after you send it to a जर्नल, वहाँ पे भी अलग अलग देर आर डिफरेंट पीपल हु सेक्शन एंड हु आर कैटेगराइज्ड एंड दे असेस एंड एडिट एंड रिव्यू डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ पेपर्स. सो डिपेंडिंग ऑन योर टाइटल ओनली they might select a person. Now if your paper is getting reviewed by a very renowned person, a very qualified person, so obviously you can have that benefit. But कई बार आपके टाइटल की वजह से they might even reject, क्योंकि it is not practically possible for everyone to read each and every paper. They might just reject it from the title and the abstract. What is abstract we'll discuss later. All right, so APA publication manual recommends titles be 10 to 12 words long. Titles should be minimum 10 to 12 words long, so that they are able to give a brief what you can say brief idea about our research. Also they shouldn't be so lengthy that मतलब 3-4 लाइन में टाइटल आए, ऐसा भी shouldn't be there. Okay, so it should be 10 to 12. So according to APA publication manual, this is one of the systematic specification that we have for title. A major consideration is that a title will be catalogued in various databases. अलग अलग database जो होते हैं journal के, when they are publishing your work, they will database catalog your journal, catalog your research paper in the different databases of your journal depending upon the quality of your title. All right, is the title case. So basically title case refers to a system in which the first letters of main word in a title are capitalized. So when you are writing a title, and according to APA style, your title should be between 10 to 12 words. So when you are writing a title, the first letter of every word in the the word of your title should be capitalized, but all other letters should be in lowercase. मतलब जो the key terms which are there in your title should be capitalized, and rest the words, for example if you are adding any kind of prepositions or if you are adding any kind of helping verbs, so they will be in lowercase letter, and the key terms of your title should be start with capital letter. An example of title cases, so this concept of title case could be understood by this example: feminine psyche and theatre. So see, F is capital, P capital, but A is not capital of end, and theatre's T is also capital. So you'll notice that the word and is not capitalized because it's not a key term of your title, right? So keep this in mind while writing the title, that the key terms should start with a capital letter. All right, so that will be included in the title case. A title contains keywords to describe your topic that can be used by others to explore the same. So a title includes the keywords with which you can the reader can get an idea about what your research paper is, what is the outline of your research, what are the different aspects that you have included in your research, and by getting an idea, the reader will decide whether they will want to read your research paper, want to read your thesis or not. So that is why title should be given proper attention, and while selecting the title we should keep all these points in mind. Now the next part is the hypothesis. The research hypothesis also needs to be clearly stated and presented as part of a theoretical framework. So we have discussed about hypothesis in detail in our previous lectures. Basically, hypothesis is also very important, and when it comes to stating the hypothesis also, you should choose and frame it in certain kind of words so that it is able to present the entire outline or the entire idea of your research into the hypothesis. All right, if you are planning to approve that hypothesis, or if you are planning to disapprove that hypothesis, whatever is it should be mentioned in the report. Then a very important part of writing a research paper, specifically when you are writing for some journals or some kind of publishing authorities, so abstract plays a very important role. Even on the preliminary stage, when your research paper is on the level of being selected or rejected, at that time abstract plays a very important role. And the amount of attention that we give in writing our research paper, the same amount of attention should also be given to the abstract, because more or less your abstract will decide whether people want to read your research paper or not. So basically, let's see what abstract is. An abstract must include a lot of information in a short space and are typically limited to a specified number of words. Word limit is always mentioned in an abstract, whatever depends on the journal. Whichever journal you are writing for, whichever article you are writing, the number of words or the word limit will be mentioned by them, and you'll have to stick to that word limit very strictly. Okay, then they are submitted as part of paper manuscripts to journals. Basically they are like a manuscript of your paper, means a kind of a small sample that what your paper is going to include, what all topics you are going to research upon, what are the different literary theories or literary criticism which you are going to use to decode or dissect your particular topic. So all these things are mentioned in an abstract. Then they are sent as part of the application package for conference presentations. If you want to present your research paper in a conference, there also first you will have to send an abstract that whatever you are going to present, you have to just give a brief detail about everything, just give an outline, a margin of boundaries of your research, and then the conference committee or the authority committee or whatever is in charge of selecting or deselecting people, the person will decide whether your presentation should be there in the conference or not, depending upon the abstract, which will tell them about the boundaries of your research. And they function as a summary that readers use to decide if they want to read the whole paper or not. And in the end, after journal editors and reviewers, after the conference committee, in the end it's always the readers whom you want that they should read your paper, and people should read about it. But it depends on your abstract whether they will be interested in your areas of research or not. So that is why it is advisable and very preferable it should be for you that we should give proper attention to our abstract. Then there comes the introduction part of your research paper. Now when we are writing a research paper, it is not necessary that we include or we give a heading of the word introduction. It is not necessary that we give the proper titles or headings to every paragraph that we are writing. Introduction, by introduction we mean that when we are going to start our research paper, initially the matter that we are going to write should be like an introduction. So when a reader is reading that material, he or she should be able to get an idea that what you are going to talk about in your research further. All right, so the word introduction is not used. One just begins. Introductions to academic papers research have no specified size, but it must convey sense. And there are no hard and fast rules when it comes to the introduction. You can even the length of introduction is not mentioned. Even you don't have to mention the word introduction, but it should convey a sense. It is a simple logical thing that when someone starts reading a new thing, the first thing that they would want is a background information, a brief introduction about whatever is going to be followed in the upcoming pages. So that should be kept in mind while writing your introduction. A complete introduction to a research paper includes various parts are included in a introduction to research paper which are advisable, but not strictly that you should include all these parts, but some parts are there which makes an introduction very efficient, and it is able, and by using these different parts we are able to convey our message, convey our ideas to our readers in a proper manner. So what are they? First of all, we should try that we include a statement of the specific aspect of the topic about what we are going to research. If we are going to research about, say, gender discrimination, so gender discrimination in which particular social circle we are going to study. Are we going to study gender discrimination in education department, in family life, in professional setups, in corporate setups? Where are we actually going to study? So all this should be stated in the introduction. Then a brief history of the problem, and all this as you can understand comes from our literature review. We brief history, what work has been done on this particular topic earlier by different researchers, what what are the different findings that have already been stated earlier, and what are the further avenues which we can explore being researchers, being readers or students or teachers. All right. So and next part should be an operational definition of the terms. What do we mean by operational definition? Operational definition means whatever key terms are going to be used in your paper further, you should just give a brief idea about what those technical term means. For example, if you're going to use some kind of a jargon, if you're going to use some specific words which are not so common, or you are going to use certain words from other languages, then you should just give a brief idea to the reader that whenever you are going to mention these technical words, what do they actually mean, so that they are familiar with these technical terms, so that when they are reading further, they'll not have a problem with these jargons. Okay. Then purpose of the paper. Now you have written about like what you have introduced your area of study in detail. You have introduced about the history and the various work that has already been done, and the operational definition of certain key terms. Now you should give a purpose of your paper, means first you have given the history. Now you should give that all these works, all these researches have already been conducted. Now what are you going to offer, right? Because that is in the end what matters, that what are you going to offer now further in with your research. What is the significance of your research? Why a student or a teacher or a further researcher should read your particular research? What are you offering in your research? That should be mentioned. And one or more research questions. If your research is based on some research questions, that you should also try to state those research questions in brief details, so that they also have an idea that if you are planning to answer certain kind of questions, or if you're planning to postulate a theory, all these ideas should be mentioned in the introduction. Okay. Now our next topic is deciding the use of tense. Which tense are we going to use, whether it is a past tense, present tense or future tense? So there are certain views regarding this. Certain researchers are in favor of past tense, certain are in favor of present tense. So let's see. Generally, using the past tense in all sections is common because the research has already been accomplished. Now, it's a common phenomena, a common practice to use the past tense in the research, or like when you're writing a report, because whatever research you have conducted has already been conducted, right? It is in past, it is already done and it is completed. So that is why they think that using past tense is actually the way of writing. But in 2004, Swells and Feek have surveyed research papers using the IMRD, that is Introduction, Methods, Results and Discussion model. This is a model according to which Swells and Feek researched about the various citation styles, various things, various systematic procedures, etc., which are used in research writing. and in consideration of the tenses, they concluded that the present tense is more common in the introduction and discussion, when you are introducing your topic, when you are discussing about the literature review, the research question, the hypothesis, all these things, and when you are trying to discuss and everything, then you should use the present tense, and you should use the past tense in the method and result section. And when result is conducted, when the result is interpreted, when the result is presented, there in that part you should use the past tense. So you are not limited to use these two tenses according to them. It is just an idea. It depends on the researcher and of course on the theme of the research. What is the theme of your research, and what is the nature of your analysis? If for example you are suggesting certain measures to cure a problem, that these should happen, so obviously you will use future tense there, that we should try to do this, these should be opened, and etc etc. So it depends, very much depends on the theme of the research, which topic you are researching, and what is the idea of your research. Okay. Then literature review. Literature review explains the context for the research together with details about the findings trend. This is the context. We have already discussed about research review. So basically it involves all the historical studies that you have done, जो भी हमने books को refer किया है, different और researchers और theorists को हमने refer किया है, जो भी हमने उस topic के ऊपर अपनी background study की है, that should be mentioned. Weakness of previous studies in the area. अब हमें क्या ज़रूरत पड़ी कि हम ये रिसर्च करें, डिपेंडिंग कि फॉर एग्जांपल किसी टॉपिक पे बहुत सारी रिसर्च हुई हुई है, तो आपको ये मेंशन उसमें करना होगा कि आपकी रिसर्च की क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है, क्या नीड है. ऑलरेडी अगर शेक्सपियर पे इतनी सारी रिसर्च हुई है, तो वाई यू आर डूइंग अ रिसर्च ऑन शेक्सपियर, तो यू विल मेंशन कि बिकॉज ऑल्दो रिसर्चेज हैव बीन डन, बट ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट द रिसर्च इट इज़ क्वाइट अनएक्सप्लोर्ड, सो दैट इज़ वाई you are conducting a research on this. A literature review is a collection and evaluation of the written material available on a topic, but it must be pertinent to your topic as well. It is simply a written material or a written report of all the background studies that you are doing and which are pertinent to your research topic. It is not that if you are doing a research on say some psychological aspect and you are reading certain sociological book, that will not come in it. Okay, obviously it should be pertinent to your research question. Now our next topic is research methodology. After stating all these things, you decide your methodology for the research. What is going to be a research design? Basically describes your basic research plan, restating research questions and purposes. So basically it is you are giving about the research design and the basic research and purpose. You systematically organizing it in research methodology. Then the hot debates carried on in the past over the superiority and application of two research traditions, quantitative and qualitative, have resulted in the increasing interest in the third research orientation, that is mixed methods, which integrates the two above mentioned approaches. In the last lecture, when we were discussing about the various types of researches, and we discussed about qualitative and quantitative, so we also threw some light on the concept that it is not practically possible now for some researchers, for some kind of themes, to strictly mention or to strictly limit themselves into the boundaries of qualitative or quantitative research. Many a times it happens that your theme of research or your the idea which you are researching could be explained by using both the methods, qualitative also as well as quantitative. So in such cases, people started putting forward this theory that we should inculcate this habit of mixing both the methods, integrating them if necessary, and then using the best of both the methods, right? So it was always a very debated topic whether one should choose a qualitative research method or a quantitative research method, and how much efficiency will your research have if you include both the methods. So now in current scenario, in the contemporary scenario, it has been concluded that we should focus on mixed methods, that is it integrates both the above mentioned methods, that is qualitative as well as quantitative. You are using in some part of your research, you are using some statistical analysis, some empirical data, and in some part of your research, in some topics you are just analyzing using words, that is the qualitative research method. So that way your research will be balanced, it will have more validity, more reliability, and also it will have more analysis because of the qualitative, and validity and reliability because of the quantitative part. So that is why this trend of mixed method is gaining much momentum in the research field. Results and discussions. The objective is to present the results obtained after doing research. This can usually be best achieved by presenting the data mainly in tables and figures with necessary verbal explanation. Now results and discussions, again if you are presenting certain statistical results, you will be presenting them in some kind of table or using some kind of equations. Also if you are presenting the results of your qualitative research, you will be presenting with certain conclusions, certain theories if you have postulated, or different kind of things. Also when you are presenting your research, it should be kept in mind that results and discussions should be given much attention, and when you are presenting your thesis or you are presenting your research paper, you should focus a major part of your time, whatever time is allotted to you, a major time on the results. Whatever results you have acquired from your research should be focused upon, so that the readers get an idea of the significance and the quality of work that you have done. Then after giving the results that you have came to in your research, you should, in the discussion part, you should also mention the possible theoretical or practical significance of results. What is the significance of your results, how they can be used by further researchers, or how they could be useful in the in our educational field or in the research field. Then also one of the very important aspect of the results and discussion is you should also mention the possible future areas where other researchers who are interested in the same field can carry on their researches. Okay, so for example, if you have researched upon, say, the efficiency between grammar translation method and series method, you can you have chosen a methodology where you have collected certain students and then asked them to do certain activities and teaching them language. You might in the future you might suggest some future researchers to assess the efficiency or some other methods in this comparative style. So whatever the future research opportunities could be attached to your research and to the area of research should also be mentioned and should be discussed in detail with the listeners. Then avoid repetition in the discussion, or don't avoid, obviously this is a very common suggestion even in writing the research, even while presenting avoid repetition, because repetition leads to the loss of interest on the side of the readers or listeners. Then interpret the findings, that is again explaining your results. Author's opinions should be included. In this part you should include your opinions backed up by the results of your research and by the different theories that you must have used in your research. So here you should also include your opinions. Now our next topic is referencing. Referencing means whatever sources you have used in your research, जिन sources से, जिन books से या titles से या articles से आपने अपना research material collect किया है, gather किया है, उन सारे sources को mention करना in your research is known as referencing. So most style guides require researchers to ensure that all citations and reports of research, whether books, articles or chapters, are included in the correct format in the reference list. All the resources of your research material should be included in the referencing. All citations in the research report should be consistent with the same style guide. It is important to consider carefully how secondary sources will be cited. Example, when to include the complete and original reference in cases when you cite someone who cited someone. So whatever resource you have used in your research, all the citations should be mentioned in the proper style. There are different styles. For example, if you're using the MLA style or any kind of style, which edition you are referring, you should, but it should be kept in mind that you have to mention, first of all, you have to mention all the sources of your research material, and number two, whatever method or whatever style of formatting, whatever style of referencing or citation you are using, it should be consistent throughout your research. Okay, means for example, if in the first chapter you are using MLA style, then it should be continued throughout throughout all the chapters of your research. It shouldn't be that in first chapter you are using some other kind of style and in other chapters you are using some other kind of style. It should be standard and should be maintained throughout the thesis. Alright, so and one more thing, because today we are so engrossed, हमारे चारों तरफ we have so much of technology around us, so now you can also use proper softwares with proper licenses and authoritative documents and certificates. You can also use certain softwares to assist you in your research writing. One such software is Endnote 1, and it could be used to it can automatically reference whatever data you want to cite in your research, and it can format it according to your needs. Now citation may look different depending on what is being cited and which style is used to create them. Choose an appropriate style guiding your needs. Your needs means, first of all, if you are writing for a particular journal, then you should also take care that whether they give certain specifications, whether there are certain demands that they have regarding the editing and formatting of references, or if you are choosing certain style, or if you are doing your submitting your thesis to a particular institution, whether they expect the researcher to write in certain format, in certain style. So you should keep all these things in mind, and also depending on your research topic, whatever you are going to research, that should also be kept in mind, that it should be in consistency with the theme of your research. Citations should always include, these are the certain factors or segments of citation, that is, it should include author's name, then title of books, articles and journals, whatever wherever you have gained the research material from, wherever you have acquired it, procured it, it should be mentioned. Then the date of the publication of that particular edition, and page numbers, volume and issue numbers for articles, that is, volumes and issue number are for articles and journals, and page numbers, date of publication is common for books, articles as well. Then this is an example of how you can give references depending according to the MLA style. The full form of MLA is Modern Language Association. So this is how you give references according to MLA style, that is the name of the author, and always keep in mind that whenever you are writing your references, the surname should come first and then the first name of the person. So Singh Kushal, alright, then the title, then just look at the punctuation marks where it should be kept in mind. All these things are very important. Then this is the title, okay. Then New Delhi, the city of publication, Atlantic Publishers and Distributors, then the year and the page from which you have acquired your material. Alright, so this is one of the example of by MLA style. Now the bibliography is, all references are properly numbered in the bibliography, that is known as bibliography, where you are mentioning properly all the sources in a list. References should provide name of the author, title, name of the book, year, month, volume number and page number. We have previously discussed in the slide. Then a bibliography is a list of the sources used to get information for your report. It is included at the end of your report on the last page or last few pages. So it is as we have already discussed, it is a list of all the references, all the sources of your research, and it is generally mentioned on the last page, or if it is detailed, or if it is having more numbers or number of resources, then you can use 2-3 pages also. One thing you should keep in mind is a suggestion that when you are initially starting the literature review process, or when you are just starting your research, whatever resource you are or whatever source you are assessing, just note it down there and then, because in the end it gets very difficult to remember exact editions or exact books from where you procured certain quotes or certain ideas. Okay, so it is very advisable that whenever you are reading something, just make a separate a document or a separate column where you are mentioning all the resources that you are going to for your research, and that it will help you in the end when you will have to write your bibliography. Then it will be very helpful, because you will have the list of all the resources, all the sources, and you can simply cut out the ones from which you haven't included in the final draft, the material which you haven't included in the final draft, and you can include the ones from which you have procured for the final draft. So it is a advice which proves very helpful, in the end when you are going to write your bibliography. Then when assembling a final bibliography, list your sources, text, articles, interviews in alphabetical order by authors' last names. So when you are making that list, it should be in alphabetical orders depending on the author's last name's capital. For example, if there are two people and one surname is Khan and the other is Singh, then but the name is the name of both the person, for example it is Sunanda Singh, okay, and for example Akansha Jain is there. So depending on the ending surname capital, we should mention which capital letter, which letter of the surname should should choose the list of your references, okay. Also, when you write a bibliography by hand, use underlining as shown in the guide blue. Now this is not so in common because now all the articles and all the theses are typed and presented, but if you are writing by your hand, if it is handwritten bibliography, then also it should be underlined. The bibliography should be underlined if you are using, if you are handwriting your bibliography. This should be kept in mind, okay. Now we will be discussing various how to reference and how to cite depending upon the source. Like for example, it depends whether you are taking your source material from a magazine or you have taken your source material say from a movie or from a newspaper article. So depending upon the nature of your resource material, the citation style also differs. Alright, for example, if you have taken your material from an encyclopedia, then this is how you should reference it, that is encyclopedia's title, then edition date of the encyclopedia, volume number, article title and page numbers. So this is an example. So you should keep in the next few slides we will be discussing depending upon the source, depending upon the nature of the source material, we should it will depend upon the referencing style. So these should be kept in mind. Then this is the style for a magazine. Author's last name first. Always keep in mind that the last name should come first in a referencing. Then article title, whichever article you have mentioned, the name of magazine, volume number, date and page numbers, and this is an example which you can refer. Then for a newspaper's, author's last name first should come in a newspaper. Article title, and author means specifically the article which you are referencing, that article's author. Article title, name of newspaper, city where that newspaper has published, state of publication, date, edition of available, section and page number on which that article was published, which you are mentioning. Then next is for a person, if you have interviewed a person or you have included certain person's ideas, then a full name, that is of course last name first, the occupation and the date of interview. Then next is if you are using a movie as a for the referencing, title of the movie, name of the director, distributor and the year in which it was released. And then magazine articles, author, last name first, article title, name of magazine, type of medium, volume number, date and page numbers. This will be taken consideration when you are referencing about a magazine. Then World Wide Web, that is our internet, if you are referencing from a website. Then last name, first name of the writer of that particular blog or something, section of the website, title of the website, version, then edition, name of publisher or sponsor, day, month, year of publication and depending upon the domain, web, day, month, year of access, optional, URL. URL also you have to include so that if someone wants to double check, they can go to the website and double check about the data. This is an example. Footnotes, endnotes. So basically there is a stark difference between what is footnote and endnote. Footnotes are the an information label kind of a thing which you include at the end of your each paper, right? हर पेज के एंड में अगर आपको कोई एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन देनी है तो आप उसको अगर ऐड करोगे तो वो होगा आपका फुटनोट. अगर पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर या पूरी एक रिसर्च या एक पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक के एंड में जब आप कोई एक लेबल देते हो, एक इन्फॉर्मेशन देते हो, तो देन दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एंड नोट्स. नाउ हाउ दे आर यूज्ड इन रिसर्च, लाइक द रेफरेंस लिस्ट, फुटनोट्स, एंड नोट्स, फिगर्स एंड टेबल्स must adhere to a standardized presentation. So if you are using certain kinds of footnotes or endnotes in your research, then they also have certain kind of standardized formatting and you should keep that in mind. It is consistent with the single style guide, because many style guides suggest citing authors parenthetically, that is in brackets, within the text itself. मतलब when आप टेक्स्ट में ही अपने जहाँ पे भी उस ऑथर के किसी वर्क को मेंशन करो वहीं पे आप उसके साइटेशन करो. तो हर स्टाइल गाइड का जो स्टाइल होता है वो दैट इज़ डिफरेंट फॉर एवरी यू नो स्टाइल गाइड. So it depends whom you are choosing. Then footnotes and endnotes are generally not used for citing sources. Rather, they're used to include information that, although relevant, does not fit into the flow of the text. मतलब जो भी आप लिख रहे हो, वट एवर यूर राइटिंग योर रिसर्च, उसके अंदर कुछ ऐसी एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन है जो यू वांट द रीडर्स और द लिसनर्स टू नो. तो वो जो एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन है उसकी वजह से हो सकता है कि आपकी जो एक पैराग्राफ है, जो आपका टेक्स्ट है, उसका फ्लो डिस्टर्ब हो रहा है या फिर वो बीच में थोड़ा आउट फील हो रहा है, मतलब वो सूट नहीं कर रही है, लेकिन वो एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन रीडर के पास होना ज़रूरी है. तो इस तरह की इन्फॉर्मेशन को आप नीचे एक लेबल यूज़ करके एज अ फुटनोट यूज़ कर सकते हो, अवेलेबल करा सकते हो. Then they may include supplemental content. So basically it includes supplemental content, some supplement kind of a knowledge which the reader should have. Then additional sources for further reading on the topic, or copyright information. So if you are having some kind of copyright issues, then the copyright information should be mentioned. Or if you suggest the readers to read certain other sources for the gathering more information on the particular thing that you have mentioned, then those kind of things you can add in your footnotes. Then if they're longer, authors should consider incorporating the information into the body. And if the footnote is getting too much longer, मतलब उसका एक ऐसा होना चाहिए कि एडिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन की तरह ही लगना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं कि एक अलग ही पैराग्राफ बन गया आपके फुटनोट्स में. अगर वो इतना लेंदी हो रहा है तो ट्राई करना चाहिए कि हम उसको मेजर जो हमारा मेन टेक्स्ट है उसी के अंदर उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करें. Then both footnotes and endnotes are usually indicated and referenced with superscript Arabic numerals consecutively numbered. So this is how you number your endnotes and footnotes using superscript Arabic numerals. Then endnote, this www.endnote.com is a software program designed to organize bibliographic references and place them in an appropriate format. So it helps in bibliographically referencing your format automatically by the use of the computers, which will help the researcher, assist them in the writing process. Now figures आर यूज टू डिस्प्ले इन्फॉर्मेशन. फिगर्स या कोई टेबल हो गई, हमारे चार्ट्स हो गए, कुछ ग्राफ्स हो गए, ये भी हम ऐड कर सकते हैं. एंड बट दे शुड बी कंसाइज फॉर्मेट होनी चाहिए उसका, उसी फॉर्मेटिंग के अकॉर्डिंग ही हम उनको इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं इन आर रिसर्च. दे जनरली कंसिस्ट ऑफ ग्राफ्स, डायग्राम्स, चार्ट्स, इलस्ट्रेशंस और photographs. They could be included, but they should be formatted according to the certain specifications given by the style guide that you are choosing. Then let's now discuss some of the research ethics, some of the certain moral lessons which you should keep in mind while writing a research paper on different stages of your research. Number one is that research demands objectivity, balanced views, exists reference to source and presentation of facts. First of all, it should be objective. Most important thing is the sources that you are including in your research should be properly mentioned, and proper acknowledgement should be given to the person whose resources you are using. The researcher must take care of following research ethics. First of all, plagiarism, obviously. Now under plagiarism, borrowing the material from others without acknowledging them is how you can get into the charges of plagiarism. Whatever material you are including in your research should always be, the source should always be mentioned. ठीक है. The best way to avoid plagiarism is to cite your sources both within the body of your paper and in a bibliography of sources. तो bibliography में भी in text citation अगर आप यूज़ कर रहे हो तो वहाँ पर भी just include the name of the sources and to save yourself from the charges of plagiarism. Then the style of research should be different from an essay, prose, biography or autobiography. These are all different genres. Your research should be different from all this. It should not be colloquial. The language that you are using should not be conversational language. Some kind of technical language should be used. Not sort of flowery language. You should be on point to the brief. Okay. Then also the style that you are writing, it should not be like you are writing a novel or an autobiography or a biography. It should be the style should be very, very particular, which is of the research. Then thesis writing, researchers needs to evaluate the quality of any work before citing it. Paraphrasing or quoting, keep an accurate record of the original source. If you are paraphrasing from somewhere, just also mention the source whose work you are paraphrasing. Then try to be thorough and concise. Above all, strive for accuracy and originality. So you try to be as accurate in referencing and in selecting the quotes or in selecting the paraphrasing as much as possible. In citing sources, mostly scholars use the MLA, that is Modern Language Association format. Anytime you cite a source, whether it be a direct quote or a paraphrase, you must then insert an inline citation into the text of the paper. This is what MLA style says about citation. Typically, the inline citation would consist of the author's last name followed by the page number with the entire citation in brackets. When you are doing an inline citation, the format is different. That is, here the author's last name will be there followed by the page number with the entire thing in brackets. ठीक है, ये inline citation जब हम करते हैं तो this is the format. Okay. Then direct quote, you should always try to paraphrase as much as possible, but if you specifically want to include someone's direct quote, then the reader to read an important historical line, if you want the reader to read, then you must put quotation marks around the sentence. This is very important. If you are not putting quotation mark, this is a simple punctuation mark, it is a very small thing, but if you do this by mistake or deliberately, then you could be charged with plagiarism, because if you are not putting quotation marks, you are kind of stating that this is your these are your words or your lines, and this is a very wrong thing and very unethical thing to do in a research. Then general guidelines according depending upon the citation and different kind of formatting are: type your paper on a computer and print it out on standard white 8.5 into 11 inches paper, that is our common A4 size paper. Then double space the text of your paper and use a legible font, example Times New Roman. This is the standard font which is used in most of the official and academic works. Then MLA recommends that the regular and italic type styles contrast enough that they are recognizable from another. Means when you are entering some kind of, when you are mentioning some book's name or some extra detail, when you are mentioning, that should be mentioned in italics. And when you are, so depend the font in which the italics and the normal font is, it is easy to decipher between the two. So choose that kind of font. The font size should be 12. So 12 should be the size of your fonts. Then leave only one space after periods or other punctuation marks unless otherwise instructed by instructor. This is not so hard and fast. Sometimes it also depends on the journal that you are writing. They have their own set of rules. Sometimes your guide also has certain kind of specifications, so you have to mention them, but generally these are the rules which are followed. Set the margins of your document to 1 inch on all sides. The margins should be 1 inch from all sides. Means, for example, if this is the page, then a 1 inch margin should be left between, this is your text, here should be your text, and 1 inch should be left on all 4 sides. Then indent the first line of paragraph 1/2 inch from the margin, that should be for the first line of the paragraph. MLA recommends that you use the tab keys as opposed to pushing the space bar 5 times. Now these are the certain specifications that MLA expects all the researchers to have. Now certain specifications you have to follow, and certain depends on the institution or the journal or the committee or your guide under which you are working. Alright, use italics throughout your essay for the titles of longer works and only when absolutely necessary, providing emphasis. When you want to provide emphasis, or you when you want to mention certain name of certain author, certain books, then use the italics, but we should use them very, very wisely. We cannot use, if anything we want to highlight, we are using italics. That should not be the practice. If you have any endnotes, include them on a separate page before your work's cited page. Endnote should be made separate from the main bibliography if you are having any endnotes. Entitle the section notes, give titles to every section notes that you are having. Means all these things are suggested so that your research, your report should appear as standard, as professional and as formal as possible. That is why we suggest to use more technical kind of a language, not a colloquial conversational language, to avoid using short forms like he. If you want to write he will not, don't write he apostrophe double L, no, write the full sentence. The short forms are not allowed. Many times we have a habit of writing and like this, or some people have writing like this. This is not suggestible in writing a report now, because today nowadays we are not having handwritten researches, handwritten thesis. Now everything is typed and printed. So these some kind of problems are evaded, but many other things are also should be kept in mind depending upon the font bold style you are choosing, the size of the font, the formatting of the page, the indenting, the spacing, the lines, etc. All these things should be considered, because when at the time of publication all these things play a very important role, and when your thesis will be submitted, before the pre-submission also you will have to format it properly. Many a times you will be given certain corrections and you will have to make these corrections. So it's a very patient and a very tiring process to write a research, to work in research, but in the end it's rewarding also, because of course we we are adding certain things to the knowledge of the field. We are contributing something to the educational department, to the educational sector, for the future researchers and the students. So all these things should be kept in mind. These were some technical aspects of a research which should be which a researcher should keep in mind while conducting a research. And earlier we have discussed the theoretical aspect of research and what are the different types and what different methods and different contents and parts of research. So with this we come to the end of this unit, which is research methodologies in English. And if you have any doubts, you can send in your doubts, you can mail it, and hope to meet you in the next unit. Thank you.